world, ECW, NWA, WWE. Each time you were known as that guy. You were known as the franchise.
Right.
You were a leader. Then you go to WWE, and then they tag you with this, I don't want to be biased, but ridiculous gimmick, Dean Douglas.
And it was, yes.
And you were not used properly. How did that affect you? Mentally and just your career-wise?
No, if anything, it re-energized me. It lit a fire under my ass because I thought, if you're this damn stupid to take the hottest heel in the industry, and that's the best you can do with it, that's not my problem. That's your problem. And to me, I still think back and think, what kind of magical matches could they have had if Shawn Michaels would have got his head out of his ass and found his smile, and Vince hadn't been a moron, and the Clique running roughshod and deciding who they decide is going to go over or not go over. It truly was the inmates running the asylum. They're contrary to what Vince wants everybody to believe, that he's the dictator and he does things his way. The Clique ate his shit and made fun of him and talked unmercifully about him behind his back. So where I see their business today, I think Vince deserves it to be where it is today because that's where he's taken his business. And it didn't, as far as me affecting me as a worker, if anything, I was starting to get a little bit tired, run down, and just, my energy levels were down when I was leaving ECW because I'd worked so hard for so many years and through so many injuries that, if anything, going through that up there pissed me the fuck off, and it lit the fire back under my ass. And if there's one key ingredient that Paul Heyman had in his recipe, it was that he had a guy named Taz who was always told he was too short, a guy named Sabu who wasn't big enough, a guy named Shane Douglas who was always told he's just going to be a mid-card white meat babyface, and on and on and on and on. And so he had a dressing room full of guys that were really pissed off at the industry and ready to prove the industry wrong and ready to prove Vince wrong and ready to prove Bischoff wrong and everybody else. And it's pretty much what they did. It was, they say it's magic in a bottle. We drank Paul's Kool-Aid. What it was you had a dressing room of very talented guys and women that were ready to kick ass because they were sick of being mistreated in the business. It's and I would argue that there's probably a shitload of people like that today in the business, from the looks of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. We've probably seen some of them at the independent level.
Right.
They're probably happy they're out.
Absolutely.
I'm going to put you on the hot seat and give you a couple questions. You can give me 1 or 2 word answers.
Yeah.
Best to work with in the ring?
Oh, best to work with in the ring? Ricky Steamboat.
Worst?
Worst to work with in the ring? Razor when he was in the Clique, because he was very capable and chose not to be.
Gotcha. Best company owner?
Todd Gordon.
Okay. Are you a WWE Hall of Famer?
Never.
Never.
I'd refuse if I got it.
Okay. Paul Heyman.
Brilliant. He's the most dichotomous, brilliant moron I've ever met in my life. A brilliant writer and a moron when it came to business. It's a shame because he's truly gifted in writing storylines and creating characters. What I don't understand is how in the God's name, in a company like WWE right now, and they're just utter lack of getting anybody over and developing any new talent. And you got a Paul Heyman sitting there. I mean, that's like, man, I'm starving, and there's a steak sitting right there. Yeah, but I'm starving. Yeah, but there's a steak right there. Yeah, but I'm starving.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much what Vince is doing there. And again, that's just Vince being Vince.
Social media, how can fans reach out to you?
Hashtag franchise SD, Shane the Franchise Douglas on Facebook, Shane Douglas Booking at gmail.com for bookings. Franchise fan site for my website, and now they're trying to get me on this damn Instagram stuff and everything else. It's like, enough already. I don't have the time to do it all.
Well, I appreciate your time.
Thank
you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The franchise Shane Douglas from Superstars of Wrestling, courtesy of ESS Promotions.
Yes.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, and I really hope you enjoyed that sit-down interview with former ECW and NWA World Champion, former WWE Superstar Shane Douglas. He opened the light. I mean, he told it the way it was. WWE, another guy again misused. We've heard it from guys like Brodus Clay and Mr. Anderson, just misused. I mean, you're taking a product and you're just changing it. And if it's not broken, don't fix it. I mean, that's like life. I'm like anything. Like if you have a television and you're watching it and there's nothing wrong with it, why would you open the back and start tinkering around with it? I mean, here you had a perfectly working persona in the franchise, Shane Douglas, and then you go and you make him Dean Douglas. You slap a pair of glasses on him, give him a white button-down shirt, and make him into this snot-nosed know-it-all teacher. And this is the best that you can do with a guy who is well on his way to any wrestling Hall of Fame. But that's WWE, and you heard it from his mouth, and you get to hear his opinions on Vince McMahon and Paul Heyman and other owners, and him and Ric Flair and all the problems that they've had in the past, and he still gave props where props was due to Ric Flair as a worker in the NWA and as a champion. So again, thanks to Eric Sims of ESS Promotions for making this possible. Thanks to the franchise Shane Douglas for agreeing to do the interview. And this was, again, from 2 weeks ago from Superstars of Wrestling. And speaking of Superstars of Wrestling, don't forget next week's show we will have Superstars of Wrestling's head promoter, Rob, the Unbreakable Fury, will be on the show. And, he's got some stuff he'd like to talk about, some shows coming up, and a couple gripes he's had in the past with other promoters. And he just wants to get the word out there. Superstars of Wrestling is to be reckoned with. And, people think they're dead and buried, and they're not. So, we get to hear about it all next week. But right now, I want to recap last night's Valkyrie Women's Professional Wrestling. It was live from Staten Island, New York. It was held at Fun Station USA, the home of the Warriors of Wrestling and the Warriors of Wrestling School. And again, like to thank Chris for allowing us to be there, and Adam for hooking us up with the flyers and everything at the big event to give out. They did a nice crowd, a lot bigger crowd this time. I was very happy. They got even some local press coverage from the Staten Island Advance. So shout outs to Steve Hart, the Staten Island Advance, for coming down and covering the event. Very, very nice article. And if you go to silive.com, that's S as in Sam, I live.com, all one word. And just put in the search window Valkyrie, and you'll see the nice article. I got a little inside interview with them as well, and props to the ladies. And I just hope this helps and gets some larger crowds, because the wrestling fan, the real wrestling fan, wants to see good women's professional wrestling. We are tired of this diva crap that they are forcing us to watch with the WWE. Even the TNA Knockouts division has been watered down, and it is kind of it's lost its luster. I'm hoping with the re-editions of somebody like Awesome Kong, her being back, I'm hoping that helps. But it's just the divas, the total divas storylines being brought into the mainstream wrestling. It's nonsense. Nobody wants to see it. No wrestling fan wants to see it. Yeah, maybe an 8-year-old girl wants to see it. And apparently that's all that Vince McMahon cares about, is the 8-year-old girls who buy t-shirts. He doesn't care about the average wrestling fan that wants to see wrestling. And if that's the case, and you know what? Take the second W out. It shouldn't be called WWE anymore. Don't call it World Wrestling Entertainment. Just call it World Entertainment. Just call it the Wii Network. Just put it on the Wii Network. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. I joke around with, my female friends. We say, oh, the Wii Network, Oxygen, blah, blah. This is pretty much where wrestling is headed. It's just headed down the road where, nobody's going to get hurt no more because they're afraid of concussions. And, guys are going to have 10-year careers instead of 20 and 25-year careers because, they're not getting pensions. They're not unionized. They don't want to get hurt. And the women's wrestlers don't really wrestle. It's just, a soap opera. And it's just... It's pathetic, and it's not real women's wrestling. Valkyrie Women's Professional Wrestling is real women's professional wrestling. and they have superstars that have wrestled all over the world, and they come together for these events once a month, and they do a hell of a job. They have absolutely gained so much more respect that I had for the women's division to begin with. They have gotten so much more out of me since I've been a part of these shows, and just a hell of a job by the ladies. But here was the card. It saw, like we said, well-traveled Sumi Sakai. She defeated the Southern Hostility, not Hospitality. Southern Hostility, Alexa Avery, formerly known as Dyslexia. Nina Monet defeated Devienne when Alexa Avery came down and distracted her. Then Top Shelf Troy Nelson came down to cut a promo, and as he said he was going to do, he did an open challenge to Nyla the Destroyer. Very bad idea. And out came Aja Pereira to even the odds, because it was announced that superstar Nikki Adams and diva Dickie Rodds were going to be taking on Nyla. So the surprise edition of Super Aja Pereira, because she originally was not supposed to be there. So it did see Nyla and Aja victorious over Nikki Adams and Dickie Rodds. And a little bit after that, I think Aja was a little insulted. She wanted to celebrate, and Nyla's not really the celebrating type, so she kind of just left. Poor Aja was in the middle of the ring by herself, but as Aja always does, she grabbed the moment and she had a lot of fun, even by herself. Let's see, the next match saw Hania, the Howling Huntress. She took on La Rosa Negra and defeated La Rosa Negra, even though they had Jay George down there and Natalie, the Secretary of Defense. And it was a 2 out of 3 falls match. It was a really good match. It was the first time I got to see Hania live, and it was the first time I got to meet her since we had that interview back when I was in Florida on vacation. So great job by both involved. La Rosa Negra, very, very talented superstar. Let's see, Little Genie in the match that we've all been waiting for. We had Ashley America on the show, and she talked a lot of trash and locked Little Genie in the kitchen so she couldn't come on the show. But we just saw her, Little Genie, defeating Ashley America. So Ashley not off to a good start, getting crushed by Nyla and then crushed by Genie. So I don't know what the future holds for Ashley America, but she still stands by her word. And then, in a crazy main event. I mean, absolutely crazy main event. Jesse Bonesaw Brooks, accompanied by the Devil's son-in-law Julius Smokes, took on the Queen of Valkyrie's champion Casey Carlisle, and again, physical match. Man, it was brutal. I thought the Belmont Carlisle match was physical. This definitely was twice as bad. They put each other through the ringer. They beat the hell out of each other. But at the end, it was Casey Carlisle victorious and retaining her Queen of Valkyrie championship. But hats off to Bonesaw Jessie Brooks, man. She lived up to her motto of being the baddest woman on the planet, because she took a licking and she kept on ticking, and even when this match was over, she was still ready to go. So kudos to both ladies, but Casey Carlisle remains the champion of Valkyrie, the Queen of Valkyrie, and that was it. It was a 6-card show. It had no intermission. It had a little meet and greet at the end as they had to get ready to set up for the Warriors of Wrestling that was immediately to follow. And good job. I mean, good job all the way around from Valkyrie Women's Professional Wrestling, and good job at Chris Levin. And again, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was pretty cool. anytime you get to see the ladies wrestle and it's it's real wrestling, it's a good thing. So